A year of effort, grinding effort. In 1941, more factories have come into operation. More men and women have gone into the factories. The concentration of industrial life on work for the war has continued unceasingly. To a very great number of people, 1941 will seem one long memory of work. The result may be seen in the impressive magnitude of Britain's power as we enter 1942. The Royal Navy still dominates its seas. In the air, we have at last reached parity with Germany. On land, the weapons to equip our own mechanized armies and those of Russia are building up and being shipped. This year has seen the war extend over the whole globe, spread by Hitler's insensate ambitions. The assault on Russia, with whom he had a pact of non-aggression, was utterly astonishing, not so much for its treachery, but because it seemed a terrific task to undertake while he had a war with Britain on his hands. Whether he expected quick victory, we don't know. But whatever other successes he may have achieved against heroic Russian resistance, a speedy and cheap triumph has eluded him. Russia fights on into 1942, and Russian and British troops having met in Iran, Britain will supply her ally with the means to resist into 1942 and beyond. American aid will reach Russia too, though to some extent the flow may be affected by America's own requirements. When President Roosevelt and Mr. Churchill met at sea in July, how many people really visualized that America would be in the shooting war by December? Out of that meeting sprang the historic Atlantic Charter, in which the two nations pledged themselves to parallel efforts for freedom and civilization. The charter may have caused Hitler to call Japan to his aid and force the United States into belligerency. So the issues of the war seem to turn for the present upon sea power. Sea power, that is, fortified by air power. The command of the Pacific is being fought out at this moment between the charter powers and Japan. Elsewhere, the Royal Navy maintains its vital control of the seas. We mourn the loss of the Prince of Wales, sunk with the Repulse, in what Mr. Churchill describes as the biggest naval blow of his experience. We mourn the loss of the Ark Royal, victor of so many engagements and victim of so many broadcasts. We mourn the loss of other gallant vessels, including HMS Hood, sunk by the Bismarck's guns. How the Navy took revenge on the Bismarck is one of the dramatic naval stories of history. And there was that other engagement at Matapan when 3 Italian cruisers went down in as many hours. But the greatest naval action of the year has been the continuing one, the Battle of the Atlantic. Germany's onslaught on our shipping and the Navy's onslaught on the U-boats. A serious situation in the spring has been brought under control by new methods, more ships, and American help. At the beginning of 1941, the Battle of the Night Skies was on. On almost the last day of 1940, a large part of London had been set ablaze by incendiary bombs. London suffered again on April the 16th and May the 10th. Other cities had their well-remembered days of martyrdom. Many shared in that particular refinement of German culture first visited on Coventry. Gradually, the means of combating the night raider increased in efficiency. Night fighters with specially trained pilots and radiolocation guiding the anti-aircraft guns, until one night, 33 raiders fell to guns and fighters. Since then, Britain has enjoyed comparative immunity from the Luftwaffe by day and night. The same statement is not true of Germany. The Royal Air Force, growing mightily in strength, has carried the bombing war to Germany's docks and industries with devastating effect. New 4-engine planes have sallied over Germany with heavy cargo. At the same time, squadrons of fighters have swept over northern France and riddled enemy shipping along the continental coastline. Meanwhile, what had been happening in stricken Europe, that vast concentration camp? The aging Marshal of France had become older and even weaker. Quisling, the first original Quisling, struggled vainly to govern in Norway. Mussolini fell into place as Hitler's jackal, and to the list of conquered peoples were added the gallant Greeks. And the Yugoslavs, proudly refusing to join the ranks of Quislings and jackals. But among the enslaved peoples, a new sign arose, V for victory or vengeance. It symbolized faith in British victory and was fostered by radio campaign from Britain. Helped by Norwegian sympathizers, British units raided the Lofoten Islands and destroyed the fish oil plant, which was of value to German armament production. Another raid was on Spitsbergen, where the coal mines were destroyed and the coal dumps burnt. But the War Cabinet refused to establish a second front in Western Europe. A second front already existed in North Africa. At the beginning of the year, Graziani was being routed. His legions were streaming into British prisoners of war camps. Then came the German intervention while our strength was divided between Libya and Greece. We fell back to the frontier and Tobruk. After an interval of months, while both sides gathered strength, the conflict was resumed. British armored divisions penetrated Libya and terrific battles were fought in the sands of the desert. With supreme bravery and endurance shown on both sides, the 8th Army gradually assumed the mastery over Germany's Africa Corps. In Malaya, Empire troops are engaged in desperate conflict with the new enemy. And to the story of the Empire's military effort must be added the achievement of wiping out Mussolini's East African Empire and restoring Haile Selassie to his throne. In this stern school, the British and Empire armies are gaining that experience which will endow with confidence the will to final victory. It is that confidence, derived from his vast experience, which animates our Prime Minister. While he embodies the spirit of Britain, that spirit is very largely due to his inspiration. His inspiration, his confidence, is based on the experience of his own years of effort. Effort as a soldier, war correspondent, historian, orator, and now as the great champion of fighting democracy. Like Winston Churchill, we have faith in ultimate victory, but it will mean blood and toil and sweat and tears. And in 1942, there must be especially much toil.